Okay, so this tutorial is for an as-is residential contract for sale and purchase. So I'm going to show you how to draft an as-is residential contract. Okay, so basically I'm going to show you how to put in an offer, how to fill in a contract to put in the offer with a seller. Now, keep in mind this tutorial is not for agents that have MLS. If you are a realtor, this is not a tutorial for you. You will actually go through Transaction Desk to do your contract. So again, this is for Gold Series 1 agents. Okay, so I've already filled in the contract for you, but I'm going to show you. I'll go through each line that I've populated for you, and I'll explain it. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to add the parties to the contract, which means the seller and the buyer. So for the sake of training, I put Bob Jones, right here, Bob Jones as the seller. Okay, James Johnson as the buyer. If you have two buyers, you do James Johnson and let's say Mary Johnson. Okay, now before I go any further, make sure that you've downloaded Adobe Reader. Okay, this is called Adobe Reader. Once you're in Adobe Reader, to fill in the contract, you will want to click on Fill and Sign over here on the right, and then you're going to click on Add Text. Okay, see that button that says Add Text? You're going to click on that. Then you'll be able to add text to the contract. Alright, so moving on, James Johnson and Mary Johnson. If we're going to add Mary, you just type in and Mary Johnson. Okay, next you're going to go down to line 6, property description. Alright, so the street address, you're basically going to put in the street address and the county of the property. The description and the tax ID, you can find that on the property appraiser's website. That's ocpafl.org. If you're in Orange County, if the property, is in Orange County, you can go to ocpafl.org. Otherwise, Google Lake County Property Appraiser. You can Google Seminole County Property Appraiser, and so on. All right, and you'll be able to fill in this legal description. So then you want to go down to what's included in the sale. So, and I'm here on line 15. The contract assumes that the range, oven, refrigerator, dishwasher, disposal, ceiling fans, intercoms, light fixtures, etc., those things are going to be included in the sale. However, let's say there's a summer kitchen out back that the buyer wants. You need to fill that in. You need to type that in. Okay? So you would type in summer kitchen on lanai. Okay? Now, let's say there's something that the seller is not willing to add. Let's say there's a chandelier that the grandmother gave the seller 100 years ago, and they don't want to include that in the purchase. That would be listed here on line 23, section E. Alright, that would be listed there. Alright, now we're going to move down to section 2, purchase price. This is where you put your buyer's offer price. Alright, for the sake of training, we're doing $100,000. Next line. Line 27, you're going to put the escrow amount. How much of down payment your buyer is going to put in the in escrow. Then you're going to decide if your buyer wants to send the escrow with the offer, or if they want to send it to the title company within 3 days of an accepted contract. I always recommend doing it this way, within 3 days or 2 days. If you want to type in 2 days here, you can, or 1 day, but never send it with an offer. Okay, so you're going to click on the X and put the amount of days. If you leave it blank, it's going to automatically populate 3 days. See it here? It's going to automatically populate 3 days. That means your buyer has 3 days to get the funds, the escrow, the deposit, to the title company. All right, next, the escrow agent, line 32. I'm here. Put the name of the company and the address of the company, the email address of the closer or the escrow agent. Sorry, didn't mean closer, meant escrow agent. Phone number, fax number. Okay. Please note that the escrow agent is not always the closing agent. Your buyer may say, First Class Title is my favorite title company. I'm going to hold my escrow there, and I will close at the title company that the seller decides that he wants to close at. Okay. So, for the sake of training, we're going to use one title company. All right, so you would put in the title company information, then go down to line 40, section E, you're going to put in what's left. So $100,000 minus $1,000 escrow. What's left for the buyer to pay at closing is $99,000. Doesn't matter. It can be it can be a loan from the bank. It can be a cash deal. No matter what, it's going to be $99,000. Don't worry about filling in these other blanks. If you find a listing agent that wants these filled in, just call the office. We'll help you with it. Okay. Section 3. Time for acceptance of offer. I typically give 1 to 2 days from the date that I submit the offer. However, if it is a Sunday morning, I'm going to give them until Sunday night, simply because most offers come in on Mondays. Okay, and we don't want to compete with a lot of offers. So if it's not Sunday, I'll give them at least a day or two. Give the seller a day or two to accept my offer or counter offer. Closing date. Discuss this date with the lender. Okay, let the lender tell you what's going to be a good closing date. Don't just assume 30 days, 45 days. If it's a NACA deal, I might go out 60. Okay, so page 2. You're going to go down to assignability of the contract. Line 77, section 7. Typically, sellers don't want to allow buyers to assign this contract to someone else. This basically means if the buyer decides that, okay, I want to put it in my company name, they can't do that if you click on may not assign. And that's typically how sellers want the contract to state, that you can't assign it or sell it to another person. Wholesalers do this where they will try to assign a contract to another buyer before they actually close on the property, before they actually follow all the terms and perform all the terms of the contract. They will try and sell this contract to another person. Sellers don't want to be involved in that. Okay, so for the sake of training, click on may not assign this contract. Next, section 8, financing. If your buyer's paying cash, you click on A. If they're financing, you're going to click on portion B or section B, line 86. If your customer is financing, you're going to put what type of loan: conventional, FHA, VA, other, meaning USDA, hard money. You're going to put other and type in USDA or hard money here. Then you're going to put that they're going to be approved within, speak to the lender, within 30, 45, 50 days, whatever the lender says, they will have their final approval within that amount of time. Okay. Now, if you leave it blank, please note it's going to show 30 days. This is the amount of time that your buyer has to be approved and not lose their escrow. If you don't want to lose your buyer's escrow, make sure you have a number in this box that the lender can meet. Okay? Moving on. It is a fixed loan or an adjustable loan. You're going to type, or you're going to put an X in the box, whether it's fixed or adjustable. All right? I leave this next line 89, I leave that empty. It's asking about the interest rate of the loan. It's going to be based on their credit. So if you leave it blank, it's going to say prevailing rate based on buyer's credit worthiness. Leave it blank. And for the term, it's typically 30 years. Now, if they do a 15-year and you don't put 15, it won't mess up the closing. Okay, so I will leave that blank as well. Buyer shall make mortgage loan application for financing within, it should say 0 days. Because if you're putting in an offer, by now you should have a pre-approval. If you don't, stop right here. Don't go any further. Go back and get a pre-approval. All right, next page. You're going to want to go down to line 131. Section 9, line 131. This covers if you're going to ask the seller for any closing costs. So if you're going to ask the seller for $3,000 towards buyer's closing costs, this is where you would type it. Okay. Now, if for some reason your buyer wants to give the seller a concession at closing, let's say $1,000 towards seller's closing costs, you would type that on line 144. All right. Leave the rest of it empty. Now, 158. You're going to typically check box 1. The seller is going to designate the closing agent, not the escrow agent, the closing agent. All right, and they're going to pay for the owner's policy. All right, and buyer's going to pay for their own insurance title policy. All right, page 4. Go down to home warranty. 173, line 173, section E. Basically, if your buyer's asking for a home warranty, you're going to put that the seller's going to pay for it. Okay, and the home warranty is going to be issued by, I use American Home Shield. You can use whichever company your buyer is comfortable with, and then you type in the amount of the cost of the warranty. Okay. Let me delete it. All right. Special assessments, leave it blank. It's going to automatically populate to A, which means the seller is going to pay any taxes, any assessments due before or at closing. Okay, and I'm talking about line 183. Leave it blank. Then move down to page 5, section 12, line 249. This talks about inspection, how long your buyer has to conduct an inspection on the home and get their escrow back if they don't like the results of the inspection report. So for the sake of training, I put 10 days. However, if you don't put anything in there, it's going to automatically populate to 15 days. Typically, I do 5 days to 7 days, but the seller may allow 10 days. 15 days is kind of pushing it. Okay, but get with your buyer and make sure that they're able to, purchase the inspection. Talk to the inspector. Make sure that the inspector can get the inspection done within 10 days or 15 days, whatever you put in that box. Okay. Then you're basically going to go all the way down to page 11. There's nothing else to fill in till you get to page 11. So page 11 covers any additional terms or riders. Okay, that means, let's say there's a condo rider that needs to be filled out, a short sale rider that needs to be filled out, an FHA addendum that needs to be filled out. If there's, let's say this is a lease option, you're going to click on Other here and type in lease option. Okay, let's go down to 571. This is where you type in additional terms. So I just reiterated what I put in the seller concession field. Seller agrees to pay $3,000 towards buyer's closing costs, and I also put buyer will pay $1,000 towards seller's closing costs. All right. You just want to reiterate those additional terms there. Then you want to go to page 12. Your buyers are going to sign here, and they're going to date. Again, you probably will have to print it out or send it to your buyer's email and let them print it out to sign it, because you don't have Authenticign, you don't have MLS, so you're going to want them to hand sign it, wet sign, okay, and date. Then you're going to want to put my name as a cooperating sales agent, because you are not a realtor, and if the property is in MLS, you risk not getting paid because you're not a realtor. MLS, basically, the rate that's in MLS is for realtors. You don't want to risk not getting paid. So you want to put my name, the broker's name, and the brokerage name on line 617. Okay? And that concludes the tutorial for purchase contract. Make sure you read the entire contract. Make sure that your buyers initial every page. Okay? And call us if you have any questions.